تخص الدراج أو تخص السباق أو تخص شيء يعني متعلق بالبطولة، فلا، في ناس تصلح من بعدك.
فأنا لأن في هناك مختصين،
نعم مختصين فيه عدد كبير
موجودين ويتابعون، وبالتالي يعني أنا شخصيا استفدت منك كثير عبد الله، مش مجاملة أنا أقول على الهواء، بالفعل يعني ما شاء الله المادة اللي تقدمها والأفكار والتحليلات الفنية اللي تقدمها يعني بصراحة يعني من الأسباب اللي أيضا دفعت الكثيرين يتابعون الطوافات اللي تقام في دولة الإمارات بشكل خاص، يعني خاصة نحن نتحدث عن طواف الإمارات، هو طواف دولي، طواف عالمي يشاهد في كل مكان في العالم. يعني إذا كان صوتك واصل للوطن العربي، أيضا هناك الصورة تصل إلى العشرات من الدول على مستوى العالم، وهذا طبعا من مكاسب طواف الدراجات الذي يقام في لنسخته السادسة بعد اعتماده من الاتحاد الدولي كطواف الإمارات طواف موحد يجمع طوافي دبي وأبو ظبي سابقا، حيث كانت الانطلاقة في عام 2014، ولكن بعد النجاحات التي تحققت منذ الانطلاقة الأولى كان هناك
Yorker, and he seems what comes through from his social media is that he seems kind of happy, and
he's never not happy. Actually,
yeah, as a happy sprinter, then
on social media,
you can only he needs to just get that little bit of confidence to get that first win, and he gets that first win. Then others, we say this all the time about sprinters. There's only one winner, and everybody else is a loser.
Yeah, it's a tough game to play, which is yet again underscores what we were saying about the remarkable nature of those who would carry that burden. Mark Cavendish carried it longer than most. Yeah, Pascal Ackermann, he is of a very jolly demeanour, even if he's sad. If he does prevail today, Pascal Ackermann will be his grin. Quite frankly, he needs sunglasses. He does. He seems to be an optimist, despite the fact that clearly he's had some knockbacks. I think when he was chosen ahead of Sam Bennett and then was expected to perform while at Borough Hansgrohe, it didn't quite work out for him. I don't know whether that was an added burden. And then Sam went off and was winning races, and that must have added to his travails. And finally, he left them, and he's now with Israel Premier Tech. He has got Ode Kogut leading him out. We have Michael Schwartzman and Rick Zabel as well. So yeah, that's a wise lead-out train, but it could get a bit sketchy out there. And I think maybe a tight train would be exactly what you want. How many lead-out men do you want left once we're around that 700 meters to go mark?
Well, there's only one kind of lead-out man, but lead-out trains, I would say you want about maybe 4 micro trains, they're calling them now. Yeah. Gone are the days where you've got 7 riders leading out in front of you, everybody's behind. It's all stacked across the front in kind of micro trains.
I really want to see some of those old days of the ACTC high road with the sound of an old steam train horn. It was something to behold. So is this man. Well, you take your opportunities where you can find them. And yeah, Ben O'Connor did a fantastic job yesterday. He's at peace with himself. More than that, Decathlon have come in. Somebody was asking about their funding level. Well, Decathlon is a very big retail outlet that extends over Europe. For those of you who are watching us on Max, don't perhaps know that. It's like an outdoor activity store, and in fact, commentators generally go weak at the knees when they see one of them. They spend a lot of time in there because you can buy just about anything. So funding has come to Uae Tour Mondial, a team that always kind of not struggled, but operated at a different level to some of the richer teams, and Decathlon will certainly help that. And in terms of somebody, I referred to the fact that they have enhanced funding because of the Decathlon arrival, and that can be mirrored in so many different ways, in terms of the funding of training camps, in funding of equipment, even nutrition. Brian, money helps.
Well, of course it does. It helps a lot. We know that from first experience from the lottery funding of British cycling. What a massive boost that was.
Yep.
Over the last kind of 20 years, and of course it went on to Team Sky as well. When you've got the riches that you can get the best people to do the right jobs for you. But I think looking at this race, I think for Ben O'Connor, it might have been a different complex on the general classification. I think that the big change yesterday has to be at the Adam Yates. The fact that he's out the race with concussion, that is a big complexion in this race. It kind of opens the race up a little bit more for Jay Vine to try. He can step into those shoes and try and deliver. Brandon McNulty is still trying to gain these seconds. He's still in it as well. But the fact that Ben O'Connor is now second place and what he showed yesterday, they'll have a few teams thinking, and Decathlon has to think about the overall victory now.
Let's see. I think it's within their means to deliver. What about this man, Dylan Groenewegen? A is somebody who can stand tall. The same race here as Fabio Jakobsen. They're paired inexorably in many people's minds, of course. It's just about how you deliver it at the end of the day, and Groenewegen could do it. From today and daily, in fact, at 19:30 Central European Time, 6:30 in the UK, you can follow Chasing It the Dream. We follow 3 men and women riders fighting for a pro contract inside the Canyon SRAM and Alpine de Koenig ranks, thanks to the Zwift Academy program. Who will be the next Luca Vegalito and Neve Bradbury? Watch Eurosport and Discovery Plus to discover. 43.6 kilometres from home. This is not the highest pace. Everyone is just putting a bit of insurance. Nobody wants to take this on. And notice there's no appetite to go in a break, Brian.
No, I don't think there was. The only person would have been the Corotech team, especially Mark Stewart. He's done his job. The sprints, the last sprint was at 86 to go, over 40 kilometres ago. Van Hoek was the rider that went with him. This is a teammate, of course, young sprinter, got involved in the mix in stage 1. He was the rider that kind of got shoved to the right-hand side and unfortunately took out Ryan Mullen, who was coming back from kind of lead-out duties when that kind of crash happened. But, a good young sprinter of his own right from Lotto Destiny.
Jarno van der Paar will be led out by Jacopo Guarnieri. When you look at the finish, the names that we had in Liwa, Melia took it ahead of Argo Decline. Then came Maresco. Fabio Jakobsen just slightly boxed in again. He's making a habit of this just towards the barriers. I'm hoping that if he sticks to the centre of the road, that Fabio could actually stretch his legs. In Oman, he was very quiet. And, when it gets a bit sketchy, we always talk about the best sprinters able to just park their disquiet. I'm hoping that Fabio Jakobsen refines the screens really to put up and allow him to show the talent that he most certainly has got. Somebody else, of course, who got Lefebvre, and he's found himself now at DSM at Firmenich, post NL. He's got Timo Russen and indeed Alex Edmondson as well as part of his lead out. The last man will be Tobias Lund. So Jakobsen's got the quality and indeed the lead out to do something.
He has, and also within that team, Casper Van Uden is starting to shine as well. So a little bit of pressure on Jakobsen to deliver, the win. And I think it will come. It will come. It's just a matter of time. You can't be out of position the whole time. Very caretaking stage 1, but yeah, it will come at one stage, and when it does, then others will come as well.
Let's talk about Patrick Lefebvre just momentarily, and some of his ability to upset his stars. It doesn't seem to knock the team back too much, although they had a quieter year than they'd hoped last year, of course. But Jakobsen was one of those that got bitten. Alaphilippe is the latest. There have been plenty of others, including Mark Cavendish himself, that have had run-ins with the man.
Yeah, that's the way he runs his teams. Obviously, we are looking at some of the kind of press at the moment regarding that subject. We're getting translations. So, if he was pointing a finger at certain members of his staff, now, Alaphilippe, then, what's he pointing the finger at? So we're kind of looking at the translations of that and trying to translate it into what's happening. We've had it in the past with Oleg Tinkov, with Peter Sagan.
Indeed, yeah.
So some team, owners are like that. Big salary riders not performing, and they start to point the finger. I just don't think it's nice doing it in public, of course. But that's how some of these team managers do it. I was more of a case of keep it in-house, deal with it. But some people just get a little irate, and Patrick Lefevre he'll bang on about big victories, but he'll bang on about if he's paying someone high salaries and not delivering. It's the same with Mark Cavendish. I remember in 2015 when I was talking to him at the Tour de France, he won one stage, he wasn't happy at all. But yet, a few years later on, when we went back to Quick Step, he was more than he welcomed. He was welcomed back by Patrick Lefevre with open arms. So it's just that relationship you have with your team. But Patrick Lefevre does what he to say he gets results. Over the years, he gets results. But yeah, when you start to kind of air these things in public, it's not good.
It's not nice. Just centred within your screen, Alpes-Inderkirch. They've got Caden Groves, of course, Ballerstedt, Jonas Rickert, and Henry Udig. I haven't really dwelt on Caden Groves, but this day could well actually suit him. We're saying this so often, quite frankly, but it's absolutely true. It might be an Antipodean fest, this race.
I think Caden Groves, I'm not too sure this is the type of finish that suits him. Okay, his team are starting to ride, but also at the start of the day, they were trying to get in breaks, trying to do something. I think he needs it a little bit harder, but definitely a man that can get over some climbs, can finish off some grippy sprint finishes. I'm not too sure he's fast as some of the other riders that we talked about. Of course, he'll be there and thereabouts, but he prefers it a little bit more grippy, in my view.
Yeah, I'll go with that. But he does actually position himself very well. And Alpes-Inderkirch, they're usually the ones that are very much part of the early moves to establish the pecking order within the approach for their lead-out train. They're usually solid. And if Caden Groves can stay on the coattails of Ulig, Ballerstedt, and Jonas Rickert, I think he'll go well. Whether going well is a top 5, we'll see.
I think what Alpecin brought to World Tour is a bit what they were like as a second division team when they stepped up. They just broke that kind of barrier down and just went out there and tried to win without thinking too much about it. It's the thought process that slows things down a little bit. And like you just alluded to there, Carlton, they take it on. They give them the best shot, and that's brilliant.
Yeah. So if there's any kind of sketchiness goes on behind the Alpes-Inderkirch train, it's likely that they will just use the rest of the tracks to bring themselves home. Here's the man who's leading. If they had some conundrums yesterday, they need to iron those out before we get to Jabal Hafid. I think they'll have a better battle plan.
Oh, well, they'll definitely have a battle plan. Losing Adam Yates to concussion yesterday was a big blow to the team. But this morning, I think it's clear the next 3 days is still stay safe. Keep Jay Vine and Brandon McNulty out of trouble. Don't want any of them crashing. So the next 3 days, they won't have to do any work at all. But it's all about this kind of final ascent up the Jabal Hafid.
Yep, that is, of course, still to come. That'll be stage 7. It's stage 4 today. So a lot of sprinting. It's almost like we had our climb. We've got another one that's going to bookend. And in the meantime, we've got 3 days of sprinting. I think tomorrow we might actually see a breakaway challenge because we've got a few lumps and bumps at the top of the day. This is the Dubai Investments Park. A large community of over 4,200. I don't think they're all investors. They're probably using those investments. No idea. It's not something that troubles me too much. Anyway, that's the park for the investors. 38.9 kilometers from home. At this rate, another 2 hours. Brian, not the highest pace, and everyone seems to be at peace with that.
Yeah, a lot of the sprinters' teams are towards the front, counted at least about 6. So just put a rider up, roll through. I think we've seen right from the start that very few riders are interested in getting themselves in breakaways. When you've got a mountaintop finish, most will wait for the climb. When you've got a sprint, most will wait for the sprint. That's the way it is. What else is there to do? Luckily, we've got Koratech here to get themselves in that breakaway and animate the race a little bit. But when you're in a World Tour race such as this, it is all controlled. If you got a sprinter and a GC guy, that's it. That's all you want to do. So the team orders is look after the sprinter today, look after your GC guy today. It's not a case of you've got a lot of wild cards and other entries into this race. That's like, let's get out there in a breakaway and try and get the king of the mountains or try and get the king of the sprints. We don't have that here.
No. I'm actually wondering whether the way that they've planned out the black jersey, they need to recalibrate that, because no disrespect at all to Mark Stewart, and I love the fact that he's actually gone out there, he's read the book basically and thought, right,
It's for the taking.
exactly. I can't imagine the sponsors delighted though. I think they would have preferred a bit more of a battle, but it looks like Mark Stewart absolutely owned it from the top.
Yep, and you have to look at it, and he said in his interview that it was like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, brilliant.
So pick it while it's there.
Yeah. I'm just surprised nobody else went for it. Oh, you know what this is? Oh no, it's not what I thought it was. This is the Jeremiah Golf Estate. There's actually a motorsport estate. Do you know that?
I didn't know.
I'm hoping we see it a bit later on. I'm looking at it. It looks like a housing estate, motorsport estate. So ignore it.
I don't know. The estate one. Does that count?
No, that would not be good enough. Because apparently, not only have you got to buy the house, but you've got to have a classic car to go in it. And so these cars aren't on display, but they do occasionally fuddle out and head off into the desert. And apparently, some of the world's finest exotics are there. I tell you something, Brian. This golf course is not Turnberry, is it?
No, it's not blowing a hoolie, is it?
No, it did last night, which caused us a little bit of trouble down towards the heart-shaped lakes, not the heart-shaped bunker you're looking at right now. But yes, hello, fellas. If he gets any closer, he's going to stop this ball going in the hole. We didn't even stay for the shot. Mind you, all taking his time. 36.6. You can see where we're heading. The skyline here is unbelievable. Well, you can see where we're heading. Downtown, and then off towards the harbour. You might even see the big palm. Not the tree, the island. But yeah, a couple of twists and turns. Actually, on the approach, before we get to the coast, we then have a... we used to go under a tunnel. I think we're still doing the same. And when we emerge, we turn right. We go down the coast, do a lollipop turn, and come back, and then have some fun at the harbour.
Yeah, well, let's see what fun actually means. Very chaotic sprint in the first stage. Somebody's going to have their fun, somebody's going to win, but it's not fun when you get beaten.
No. So, our it's not fun when you get beaten at anything, as Brian will attest. He can be a bit of a sore loser. So yeah, we will. In fact, I don't think it is tunneled, our approach today, but let's wait and see. So essentially, we will hit the coast. We have a 90-degree with plenty of time. That's with about 7 kilometers to go. And then we drive down past the Palm Jumeirah. Sadly, we're not going to finish on it, which would be great. Too many people with too many important people, including the Beckhams. Apparently, own a bit of one of the fronds of the Palm, or used to. Maybe they sold it. You know. I mean, it's difficult to visit from Florida, I guess. But yes, we have a final right-hand turn with 700 meters to go to Dubai Harbour. And it usually provides a great deal of drama, and I'm hoping that is going to be the case today. There are a little bit of rising and falls. As you come to the causeway, which takes you to the Palm, we go straight over the road, but essentially it's a sort of a rise and a fall. That will be at about 2.3 kilometres. So there's a little bit of impetus that will kick us on as we scream down towards the Flamme Rouge. Best place to be will be on the left-hand side of the road for the right-hander. But it's actually not an angled right-hander, Brian. There's a lot of highway to play with. You can actually take it wide.
Yeah, it's a sweeper, and it's a headwind slightly from the left-hand side. So the best place to be is on the right-hand side as you come out that corner. So the others have to be forced around the windier side on the left.
There you go. Here's your man. What can we expect from Fernando Gaviria?
Good. He's always good. But kicking himself the other day in stage one, went a little bit too early, kind of opened up. It was a case of, with the carnage and the chaos that was happening behind, when you got an open road in front of you, he went for it. You know, he went with Milano, made the wrong choice of coming around him too soon. But, you know, these are the things that we talk about. It's about, you know, timing and being in the right place. And when you see it kind of open up, you go for it. For Gaviria in stage one, it was a little bit too early for him.
Yep, and just went far too long. But he's given to doing that, Brian. It's a habit.
Oh, he's done it to some success. He's gone from about a kilometre to go in the past and won big races and things like that. So it's just one of these things. The thought process is, you know, when he's there, opens up. He knows the kind of chaos behind, try to surprise them, and he's had great success in the past. But in this type of field, it's crucial to get everything right. Every part of a sprint, from the lead out, the positioning, the timing of your efforts, it all has to come together. And you do. I know there's in a lot of sports they say there's no luck. In sprinting, there is a little bit of luck comes into it as well.
Hasn't got the best train, Gaviria. He's got David Kimolai, but he's always good at the beginning of the year as well. So if he's got that power that, let's say his battery's ebbed just a little bit deeper into the season, because he does have a habit of going long, if he's going to win, it's a day like this.
He's very capable. He's very capable of choosing his own wheel as well. He doesn't need a lead out man. He's very quick at that. So, yeah, Gaviria's already shown he's got the form.
Tuck in. 33.5 kilometres to go. What sort of pace are we running at the moment, Brian? About that?
42.1. But you can see that with Mark Cavendish here, Oliveira, that UAE team members are very relaxed today, right? But they would have been concerned about on the road yesterday with what was happening with Adam Yates.
Definitely. Well, Adam himself, I think we mentioned it because we saw he was shaking his hand in front of his eyes as if to say, my vision's affected. So he self-declared, which is a brave thing to do, to be honest, especially in your home race, which it is for UAE Team Emirates. But it proved to be the right one. Off he went to the medical centre. They confirmed that he was suffering from concussion. And so there's an 8-day protocol which begins now. He's out of competition, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it has to be maybe kind of tightened up a little bit more. And in rugby, I know that because my son plays rugby at under 16 level, and they've got a 3-week protocol. But I saw on social media as well that there was a few people having a go at the team, and I don't think they should have. I've been in situations before, Tour de France, when you hear a crash and all of a sudden you're running out there, and it's not just one rider. I had 3 riders in a crash at the same time, and you're trying to assess them. This is when protocols come in. Everybody's seen the Bardet situation where he's wobbling, Tom Squinch in the past wobbling and things. Sometimes you can see things immediately, and when you see things immediately, stop. So I know that the doctor, I've actually shared a room with Adrian Rotundo in the past. He's a lovely person, lovely doctor, but he's not in every race, so they leave it up to the race doctor and the sports directors as well. So they assess the rider that's crashed. But looking at that crash, you could clearly see that he came down with some force in his head, the side of his head. So you have to assess him, and if he looks okay, he seems okay, put him back in his bike. A lot of people criticised that yesterday of what happened later on, right? But I've been in that situation only a few months ago, Carlton, with my young lad. He stopped someone dead in the tracks, tackled him, but he had his head in the wrong side. All he said to me was he saw black and he was a bit kind of dizzy for a fraction of a second. the coaches assessed him and said to me that he was okay, right? Because they answered the questions, they looked at him, you know, the physio there, everything, that he was okay. As a parent, I said no. I said no, I'll keep him out the game for the rest of the game. Do you know that 15 minutes later, Carlton, he started to worry me because he started to ask questions. He couldn't remember scoring a try. He couldn't remember throwing the ball in as a hooker. And that started to worry me as a parent, right? So to be heavily criticised for allowing them to go back in the bag, I think is wrong, because, okay, when someone hits their head, you can see it automatically in some people, but some people it's delayed. So I think there needs to be a better protocol for this. I know that in rugby they're trying the mouth guards for the impact. I think there could be a possibility of putting it into the helmet. But I think any riders that land on their heads, clearly seem to be landing on their heads, it has to be an immediate stop straight away, because you can't stop for 10 minutes. You can't stop for 15 minutes in a race. We are in a sport we can't stop things. In other sports you can, right? But you can't. In rugby, they go and get assessed and then they come back on. Football players know that you kick them in the leg and they hold their head, right? You know what I mean? It's different sports are different things altogether, but this is serious. I don't think 8 days is enough, because I've had some of my friends' sons been injured in rugby as well, and they've been playing the next week. And I was like, what? I said, but he's showing no signs. Yeah, but he's still got a bruised brain. The thing is, helmets and things like that can superficially stop you from, you know, the abrasions and things like that, but it's your brain inside. I'm quite good friends with an ex-Welsh international rugby player, over 30 caps, Alex Popham, and he set up a charity called Head for Change, and it's all about the damage. He's been damaged in a sport, and it's all about the damage. In 8 days' time, I can guarantee in 8 days' time, it doesn't happen so often in our sport that you crash again and land on your head, because a lot of the time, I've crashed a few times in my career, but I've hit my head once. But if Adam Yates races again and he crashes on his head in 9 days' time, then the damage he's already done to his brain could be damaged again. And you don't want brain damage. You can't monitor things. And unfortunately, sports directors, I've been one myself, sports directors, there's a lot of teams are not worried about the mental health of someone, you know, afterwards. It's the same with bone density and you know, diet. To force the riders onto these diets, it's not good for your own bone density. So I know that firsthand. I've got a low bone density myself, so they're not looking down the road at teams of looking after the mental or physical health. What they want is performances now. So I think the UCI has to intervene here now and say, look, if someone even hits their head and has been seen to hit their head and have anything at all, then they should be out the race straight away.
It's a tough one. And there's been suggestions as well that you have kind of timeouts, so that a bike gets loaded, you're on board a medical car, which is going reasonably slowly. But honestly, there'll be complaints about advantages made of that as well. It's very difficult to impose any kind of rules like that. But you're absolutely right, Brian. It needs looking at. But a head trauma, maybe there is to be a chip in the helmets, and when you get a certain amount of loading, a certain amount of G-force, I'm sorry, that went to the head, you're out of the race. Just under 30 kilometres of the day remaining, and it's a tap home at the moment. Well, it's going to get extraordinarily lively a little bit later on. Maybe it's time for us to take a couple of your questions. I think we've probably got time the way things are going at the moment. If you'd like to speak to us on Twitter, it's at Carlton Kirby, that's me. That's CarltonKirby. And you can also try Mr. Brian Smith as well, at Bry Smithy, BRISMITHY. And that's Twitter, or X, as of course it is now known. So yeah, we'll have a chat with you, indeed, if we have some time. A bit of haze today. It was thunderstorms overnight, which caused an amendment to today's distance. We're supposed to finish 10 minutes early, but the way they're tapping at the moment, Not quite so sure, to be honest. Might even be a little bit late. Later than expected.
Was it last year we had Jasper Philipsen that jumped off his bike and was running next to it?
Yeah, that's right, it was. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. Proving that we were going so slow, even running pace. I think there was a break that they didn't want to catch, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just remember him jumping off the bike and just running next to it at his park because they were going so slow. Well, it's immaculate, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, the Live Tour own a lot of golf courses around here.
It's good to see they're keeping those golfers in check, though, isn't it?
See what he did there. I would have called that plaid, but or was it plaid? I don't know. Into town we come. Now, we used to scream down here because the finish was a little bit tighter towards this point. I always think when you come down this area, these are the people who can't quite afford the Palm. There's some pretty spectacular buildings for those who still can't quite get the Palm, but they're on the beach. And then the further you get away past the motorway intersection, and there's a tram actually that takes you all the way up towards the Palm. Down here, I kind of think, well, you nearly got the Palm, but you didn't. Maybe you should be thinking about having an apartment somewhere else. But yeah, I don't know what the view is here. That's your view if you're on floor 13, Brian. I can think of better places to spend your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at those balconies. I'm just onto the balcony to have a coffee, darling. Take in the view.
Yeah, but most of these places surely have sea view at this height.
I don't think so. Look at that.
No, not in this haze. Maybe.
Oh dear. Well, it is a remarkable place, and some of the architecture is absolutely spectacular. I have to tell you though, I went to Qatar. They've got their own Corniche, and Qatar is the richest of all of the Middle Eastern countries. And some of their buildings, they look spectacular. I thought, well, let's go do some filming at the top of one of these towers. We went in and spoke to security, and they allowed us to go up in the lift. And I have to say, this was a few years ago. The building was absolutely empty. The lift just went up past empty floors, empty floors, empty floors. This looks a bit more populous. Hello, Eric. They're having their fun. Is he going to drive off as we are here? Look at this. You know, his backswing needs some work there, man.
Definitely. He never got the best out of it. It was quite a short swing, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, far too short. To be honest, Robbie McEwen's probably just screaming at the he was watching him. We'll have some tips. I think Robbie is possibly the best golfer we've got here. You've been known to shovel a ball around a golf course yourself in the golf ball.
2 or 3 times. That's it. Everybody expects that because you're Scottish, you play golf. Not me. I was out riding my bike.
Play golf, drink whiskey. I had a wee dram last night, I don't want to tell you, from my own barrel. Let's see if we can hear this. Well, amongst the wind, we managed to hear that he was.
You loved it.
He was talking, yeah, exactly. He was talking about the stress as well of being in situations with crashes. I think he was asked whether he was going to try and go for a quick finish today to be up there for a couple more points.
Do you know, most of the chit chat in the peloton is not bike related at all.
Yeah.
You know, from when I was in the peloton, it was just cars and watches and movies as well.
Yeah.
I remember George Hincapie coming to me and saying, "Oh, you need to watch this movie." I said, "What movie is this?" And he tells me about the movie, and I went,
What's the point?
"No, it sounds stupid." Do you know what movie it was? Forrest Gump.
Great movie, yes.
I know it was, but the way he described it said this guy just goes out and starts running.
And you've been impersonating that ever since. Here is the Palm Jumeirah, a symbol of innovation, of course. Luxurious resorts. You see, this is where you want an apartment. or indeed a house. Apparently at the end of a frond is where you need to be. They're not telling you who's here, but apparently the Beckhams did have a place. Whether they should do it, I do not know. Yeah, it is an amazing feat of engineering considering there was nothing here, bro.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people's holiday destination, maybe not mine.
Anyway, old grumpy boots here. The big Atlantis Hotel, which you can see over the, we finished around there before.
Yeah,
haven't
that's what it used to finish.
we? Yeah, I wish we
in the
still did
tunnel.
actually. I know, I love that.
The anticipation as they come into view.
Yeah, exactly, because they had to go down a bit where the green roofs are there. They sort of disappeared, and then they would emerge just by the Atlantis Hotel. Once went for a cup of coffee there. I had to sell a kidney to buy it. It's very expensive.
Would you pay?
But it was a lot. I think it was about £8 for an espresso. But anyway,
I see. I'm Scottish. I would hate it.
you couldn't get it down. You think this is an outrage. 24.4 kilometres from home. Well, traffic stopped to look. Yeah, they've been held up. So, but hey, the more modest homes, as you can see, screened. And this man, I hope he stays away from the screens today, Fabio Jakobsen. Trapped to get inside the barriers, but he did actually produce a very, very fine run on the opener. A little bit nervous, perhaps, and more than understandable considering his history. But Jakobsen today has got a chance, and more than that, because he's got Alex Edmondson, who's doing some pacing for him. Tobias Lund, the last one to finish. Timo Rooston's in his lead-out train as well. He can go.
Yeah, he's got a good train, isn't he?
Yeah,
they just have to kind of gel right. Very difficult to criticise everybody from stage one because it's so chaotic. And remember, you had that slight increase in pace, a bit kind of crosswind in the run into that kind of roundabout. It'll be very different today.
It will. There's the aforementioned and seen Caden Groves just sailing by. Dmitry Grustev, who may well be on duty a little bit later on. Tucked in here. Double denim. It looks good, doesn't it? Who chose that double denim, Brian? I quite like it. It's got a whiff of indigo about it. Alpha Syndicate, it's cute.
Double denim, yeah.
We like it.
I think I've only worn double denim once in my life. I don't know if I kind of pulled it off. Getting too old for that, I think.
There was a comment looming in my mind, which I edited.
I'm just thinking when flares are going to come back into fashion. High waisters.
No. Well, I mean,
I went to school with flares and high waisters.
did you? Yeah. Didn't they call them Oxford bags or something? This is going back in time. I'll tell you what, let's ponder what's coming up, shall we? In 2 days' time, for goodness sake. The season of classics is almost here. Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. It's going to start the cobble races campaign in Belgium. 24th of February, 2 days. And who's going to win the race after, of course, the legend that is Dylan van Baarle and Lotte Kopecky. Amazing solo wins last year they were. And this is the only, of course, the first of the remaining 6 weeks of classics. Don't miss them on Eurosport and Discovery Plus, and wherever else you're lucky enough to find us. It'll be great. So is this. You know, I'm not a fan of mirrored buildings. They're good for shaving if you're a pilot. But apart from that, I think we need to move on from glass.
I quite like the one in the Uae Tour in Saudi Arabia. That one that they had the finish round. That looked quite cool.
Well, you're a fan of techno, for goodness sake. So
Best music on it.
explains that. Explains a lot.
Don't have to learn the lyrics.
Brian doesn't like lyrics. There you go. He's not one for poetry. Sarah Anderson's in the house. She says hi from Oregon, USA. She said, "You're my favourite commentator of all time." Brian Smith is very close behind. Sarah, you're in the game. That is nice. That is nice to hear.
I'm just booking a flight to Oregon.
Gonna have a word. Right, 21.8 kilometres from home. Told you about this, just a bit much. Meanwhile, it's time to dig in. This is Tim Liam. Now, many people are saying his finishing pace, and it was amazing in the opening stage. Can he amaze again?
His power was
Of course he
amazing.
can, right?
His power. I think there are other quicker riders over a shorter period of time, but this man here, I think he's proven over the last few years, when he goes, It's very difficult to get around him. I think in the Uae Tour, when he went with about 300 metres ago, maybe more, Brian Cocard almost got by him. He thought he actually did get by him, but the photo finish, he won it to him earlier. But he's such a powerhouse when it comes to sprints. He prefers, a hard sprint, like, the one we had in stage one. And he was lucky. He was out of position coming into the last kilometre, opened up for him, had a little bit of luck. But sometimes you make your own luck, and, he powered to victory. Others look quite quick that are coming from behind to climb Marechko as well. But, a lot of the times that Tim Merlier likes a kind of super long sprint. Into this flatter, faster sprint that we've got today, I don't think that it suits him as much as it does maybe a few others.
You do realise he's going to win it now, and you're going to have to eat some of that pie that's
I don't mind
humble.
being wrong. Happens all the time.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. 20.7 kilometres from home. This is nice. We're getting up to a suggestion that there's a whiff of approach pace about things. Not there yet, but we'll get there. Gosh, that is smogging up. Good time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, it's looking a wee bit gris. This is Ski Dubai. You know what's in there? Just telling you. That's the biggest dry ski slope in the Middle East. I think they used to say it was it's got a twin bobsled
Wow.
lane as well. And you were wondering what to do this afternoon.
Zip line. A frozen zip line.
Well, they're picking it up. The average pace for the day just starting to be edged upwards. Mark Cavendish looking as pensive as you'd expect him to be, especially in this situation. Been here many, many times before. So, what's Mark got for us today? I would love him to make a statement.
Well, I think he's going to go better in stage one. I think this suits a kind of lead out trains, big kind of wide road, flat, straight kind of run in towards the finish. That right hand turn, about 750 metres to go. It does suit the lead out trains, but so many of them. I think some of them have to maybe sit back a little bit and leave it a little bit late. But such as it, you used to come to the front, 5Ks to go. Now it's about 2Ks to go. Used to be about 3, but because of the kind of micro trains and everybody's got them, it's about being in position in the last kind of couple of kilometres. So it's always a little bit later.
Well, Who's Your Madness is dialed in. He is, of course, president of the American wing of the Carlton Kirby fan club. There is one. I know. It's shaped, it's strange, but it's true. Yeah, he's set his alarm for 05:30 in the morning just so he can join us, which is, that's dedication. Arvid Decline, likewise. Can he take one step forward? He was very quick, I must say, on the opening day, the run to Viwa. And Tudor, they are starting to shout from the rooftops, maybe. Chinksy and Zylard, Michael Zylard, are his lead-out men, but Arvid Decline is clever. And the way he rides, he's got a good old brain in it.
Yeah, that team last year was the first incarnation of it. Second this year, and they've added to the roster. They're going to the Giro d'Italia. Good to see a team coming in like that. Fabian Cancellara behind it, and the investment, and they started to get it right last year. And I think I have to commend them and how they took races on. They won Milano Torino with Decline, and it's just the way they took it on. Sometimes when you ride big races, there's a bit of a pecking order. Allow the World Tour teams to do most of the work. They were working right from the start. They were trying to kind of lead out, and they came up with a win. They were riding like a World Tour team. It's not often you get that, and yeah, it's good to see when a team like that, second division team, comes in and takes it on and takes some of the bigger teams on themselves.
Jakub Maresco was third behind Merlier, which shows you how much difficulty, because these are names that you wouldn't normally put sort of on the podium for the day. Shows you how chaotic it was in the opening stage. We've just seen Jakub Maresco respond his Team Porotec Vini Fantini with his Giro helmet as well. A man who is ready for sprinting. His aero helmet is going to carry him, potentially. This is the Mall of the Emirates. Sounds like a rather large dog. But no. It's got the ski slope, cinema complex, 560 shops. I believe it's built down as well. And big Burj Khalifa that you often get sight of as well. That goes down, they have to seat it. I think it goes down 40 stories or something crazy. Somebody will correct me. But
560 shops. I think the biggest mall I've been in, I think it was the Mall of America. I think it was in Minneapolis or somewhere like that. Massive, absolutely massive, compared to what we've got here in the UK. But that looks big, that one there.
It did. Minneapolis. I mean, if it's the mall, you call it Biggieapolis. 16.9 kilometres from home. Oh, hello. A little bit of bunny hopping. I guess those who crash into it first, you get the warning, so you can busy do the jump. Sleeping policemen, traffic calming the lumps in the road, often don't help, I think, when it comes to cycling. Some of the bigger races, some of the bigger events, such as the Olympics, they usually grind them down. Certainly did in Teddington as they all came by back in the day, 2012. But yes, here's your pace that we are on at the moment. This is one of those little highway rises I was telling you about that'll take us off towards the coast. Again, we don't visit the Palm, unfortunately, today. We are going to be staying on the bank, so we'll bridge to it rather than tunnel out towards the great creation that is. Astana are looking lively, Brian. They're getting themselves in position. They're at least going to suggest themselves to us.
I think they will. I think they'll give the full out lead out for Mark Cavendish, help him as best as they can. And we all know that stage one in Colombia as well, beating Gaviria as well. And Gaviria was there and thereabouts in stage one. So Mark Cavendish isn't off too much. So it's getting it right, getting the timing right, and good practice for them. And they've got Gleb Syriza as well. See how he can kind of fit in. It was a big learning process for them last year with having Mark Cavendish in the team, but they've brought on some more experienced riders, and just before the Tour de France they brought on Mark Renshaw as well, so he will look into what happened in the first stage and try and kind of dial it in perfectly for today's stage.
Well, at the moment Michael Volkov and Gleb Syriza are on the front, so not too much difficulty for them. They'll exchange positions. Maybe Mark will slot in a little bit later on. 15.5 kilometres to go. It's starting to get just a little bit more focused here, Brian. This is the end game.
What just goes to show you, maybe in a Grand Tour, most of the sprinters would be in kind of colour order coming into the last kind of 20 kilometres. We just saw at the back there, DSM Firmenich. I've got their man Jakobsen just at the back. So I think in the past, looking at a lot of these sprints, you can afford to kind of sit back a little bit, come up a little bit later. 15 kilometres, a long, long way to go to the finish. Of course, it will, we'll be finished within, definitely maybe about 18 minutes from now, such as the pace.
That was Phil Bauhaus we were just looking at, and here's the Burj Al Arab. Described, I think, as once the world's most luxurious hotel. Was it the first 6-star hotel? I mean, how do you get your 6-star? You go up onto the helipad and you can meet Tiger Woods.
I don't know how you get your 6-star. It's maybe something around.
Is it?
Maybe something around the kind of Michelin stars. How do they determine that?
I don't know. Ask Mr. Michelin. And the Al Marsa Al Arab, getting the full view here, nautically themed. There's your money. There's your choice. Into town we come, 14.3 kilometres of the day remaining. You don't want to be at the back if you're going to be at the business end. One suggests that even now, as the pace just starts to pick up, it's looking very much more focused, isn't it? It is, I mean, you know, despite my mirth, the architecture here is absolutely stunning. The reason I mentioned Tiger Woods is, I think famously, he drove a golf ball out to sea from up on the helipad. And I think as well, there was a tennis match up there momentarily.
Was it Federer?
It was Roger Federer and
Novak?
yeah, no, it wasn't Novak. It was the
Djokovic?
Spanish chap.
Nadal?
Thank you. On top. Thank you. So that's where you get how you get your 6 star. it maybe they have a star permanently in residence. I've no idea. 13.5 kilometres to go. It's been quiet today. It's about to get very loud. What are the options for EF Education Easy Post? I think they're going to be thinking about Simon Carr deeper into this race. They're not really going to hook up here, are they?
Says a lot when they're all riding down the back.
Yeah,
they don't have an out-and-out sprinter, so I think they've come here with a view to try to do something in the kind of hillier stages, time trial, of course, but maybe not a feature in the sprint finishes.
No, Simon Carr came home 10th yesterday, actually. So got his nose into the top 10. Here's Bahrain lining out. This is for Phil Bauhaus. He's got Nico Arndt and Cameron Scott just tucked in on the inside screen from you. It is Mark Cavendish's train, which will start to form. 13 kilometres to go. We're not just for the time being on that cutback, which ultimately will lead us to Dubai Harbour itself is a right-hander. We take a left-hander ultimately to get onto what might be loosely described as a Corniche. Slightly not too bendy in that regard. Decathlon 82R, excuse me, waiting to see them show their hand. Haven't done so just yet. Getting lively. Pseudo Quickstep for Tim Malia. They are just on the right-hand side of the road. Not that far behind is Caden Groves and Alpecin de Koenig, who are sitting on the coattails of Alpecin with Mark Cavendish. There's our leader, Jay Vine, but it'll be work today for Juan Sebastian Milano, who remind you, one last time out, we are peppered with winners who are here, who've won on this day in the past. And as a result, it's kind of hard to fathom who might indeed take a step forward and repeat the feat. Simple as that. Mark Cavendish has won here on multiple occasions. Viviani likewise. Milano last year we mentioned to you. Sam Bennett won in 2021. Dylan Groenewegen won, as well as Pascal Ackermann. They're both here. Bennett also victorious in 2019, we remind ourselves. Groenewegen a winner back in 2018. Viviani won then. He's won in the past as well. You get the idea. There's a lot of riders who will have mapped this in their sleep last night.
Yeah, they would. They've got the direction from the team car. So from kind of 10 kilometres out, it'd be radio silence. They'll know it's already drilled in. So a lot of the teams will, at this moment, just reiterate what's expected, what you have to do, just the kind of technical, though it's not that technical, running, just a reminder, because it's been a long while since that team meeting happened. So it's just dialing it all into the teams. But the thing is, you can't factor in what the other teams are doing for the moment. So, but just looking at DSM, Verminick, Post NL, they are sitting down the back. They're taking the approach that, look, it's a bit more relaxed. We don't have to burn any teammates up. This is going to be a faster finish than stage one. We're going to need a firepower. So the best place to do is to sit in the kind of middle of the group, keeping the powder dry, because this is going to be super fast. We just saw a graphic there, 53 kilometers an hour for the moments, right? This is going to be ramped up and up and up. So at that pace, try riding that at home. Even 53 kilometers an hour, when it's going to get even faster. You cannot sustain that for too long. So you don't want to burn too many of your teammates up before you need them.
Let's see. Fabio Jakobsen, be interesting to see how he goes. This is Ineos Grenadiers. They always like to be at the point, kind of to make one, I guess you might say. Might be a sense that, with such a big highway, I don't think the GC men may well go for safety first. A big turn coming up right now where the Seabirds are available. Taking a left-hander, which will bring us down towards the coast. Be about in around about 3 kilometers time, we'll take another left-hander, and then really it's all thinking about that right-hander that will await. You've got to get a big old bunch of safety dialed into this one. Tobias Foss still has ambitions for this race for Ineos Grenadiers, but it's about Viviani today. The Men in Black, cue the theme tune at the top of your screen here. This is for Arvid de Klein, who, of course, will have a great deal of confidence after finishing runner-up to Tim Merlier in the run to Liwa. Tim Merlier himself, many people's pick for today. Brian thinks otherwise. It depends on how the lead-outs actually mesh themselves together. Sam Welsford has got a great lead-out. He's also the kind of guy who can position himself absolutely spectacularly, and that really is the crux of the matter today. Here comes a little trek. That's for Simone Consoni, be led out by Jacopo Mosca. Of course, overall, we're thinking of Patrick Conrad and Carlos Verona, who's been going well, actually. Here comes Decathlon in the pale blue, just next to the red shoulders of Lot of Destiny, or riding for Jana van der Paar. Jana van der Paar got 10th place in the opening race, but of course, Decathlon will be for Sam Bennett. I would love to see Sam Bennett win today.
Yeah, like many, a whole island would love that as well. But you know, you can see just down the back, there's a couple of teams with top sprinters here, just taking it relatively easy. Others have gone towards the front. I think there's one word that you mentioned there: safety. The less riders you've got in front of you, the safer it is. You know, we saw that with the crashes. So a few teams have decided to come up over on the far side in the white, Barry and Victorious, and then you've got Tim Merlier's team of Soudal, Quick Step in the blue. They've come up at, you know, relatively early, but they're giving their sprinter an easier ride, so you don't have to kind of bump and barge and other teams moving around you. You go around a corner and get in position and things like that, and it's a lot harder to stay in kind of team order when you're further back in this peloton. So they've decided to do the safe approach and keep their sprinter nice and happy and in that armchair at the moment, while others are just having to kind of bide their time a little bit. And I think biding your time in this type of sprints might pay dividends as long as you can bring them up at the right time.
The man in yellow we haven't really spoken about too much, Olaf Koy, big option today. He's going to be guided in by Tosh van der Sande and the Van Dykes. And in fact, those rather waspy looking men are absolutely where they need to be. And just look who's coming up on the left-hand side. This is Sam Welsford, who's called for a decent position with 7.9 kilometers to go. We're just about to make that call all the way down. A drag race styly once we take the next left-hander, and then it's the big right-hander that indeed will loom large. There's the coast. You can see we're just going to turn away from that rather beautiful hotel that's looks like a spinnaker, doesn't it? But who's going to set sail today? Let's wait and see. Over to the far side, Fabio Jakobsen's team DSM Firmenich. You hear the names we're mentioning. That these are the absolute greats. Spirit up through the centre of things comes Sam Bennett's Decathlon AG2R La Mondiale team. And there is a team Visma Lease Bike. They want a piece of the action as well. It's colour order in long strands just for the time being. And this is the first of the turns that they have to master, Brian.
Yeah, just about to make that turn. And it wasn't a moment ago that we were saying that DSM Firmenich Post NL were down the back. Now they've come up in short order, and now they're on the right-hand side. So yeah, the orders have been drilled into these riders coming up at the right time. I think in these big kind of white roads, you do have that opportunity. You just don't want to get too blocked in the left-hand side. But saying that, Carlton, the wind coming slightly from the right-hand side, so the sheltered side is over by the curb side.
There you go, and occupying that at the moment, it's Bahrain Victorious with Phil Bauerhaus just next to him. Sam Bennett's men with Gianluca Poliflet, who will be the last man standing for him. Gentlemen, excuse me, going from Lidl there, letting Team DSM through. DSM with that flash of orange from post NL. Will they indeed deliver today? Fabio Jakobsen will be hoping for exactly that. That would be a nice nerve settler for him after thin pickings in the Middle East. In fact, they're reassembling here, as you can see, coming up high and wide and handsome around the outside. That was Enzo Leinse, who was hoping to be part of proceedings. Clearly, they want all hands to the pumps because this is a very, very long lead out with a short train still at your disposal after the 700 meters to go. Right-hand turn. You'll see the Flamme Rouge before we get there. It's nervous times, Brian.
Yeah, it's, and sometimes for the GC contenders as well, they have to kind of stay up there. 3-kilometer rule today as well. So if they get involved with an incident, they could be losing some time. So it's a case of just, you know, making sure that the GC rider is up there. Looking at Mark Cavendish at top, they are very relaxed about this. I think that's possibly a better approach, just staying back, allowing the other teams to set a hard pace at the front, allowing them to kind of waste some of their teammates and just leave it late.
Well, it was interesting. I saw Gazzoli up at the front. He's disengaged from the rest of the lead out. He's just been joined by Gleb Zwitzer. It's for Mark Cavendish to filter his way through and get onto the back of that short train. Mikko Mukko, the man who's guiding him up, on board with Jacobo Mosca. You can see the sort of pace we've got, 5.3 kilometers to go. It's arrow straight, Brian, except for the one turn that we've got. A couple of little rise and falls as we go over a motorway intersections here. But it's the right-hander that we're all talking about. So naturally, left-hand side of the road is what's occupied. Sometimes it can pay to really chop off the apex of the corner on the right-hand side of the road. Left-hand as you're looking at it now. But there is not a lot of space out there. All of the of the directors sportifs are telling them to get up to the front. I guess it takes an awful lot of confidence to ignore that for the time being with only 4.8 to go.
The trouble you've got here is because everybody's doing it. There's about, what, 5 or 6 teams doing it? It's just Visma, Leasabike just squeezing in there, but everybody's doing it. There's about 5 or 6 teams doing this, and, you know, they're all racing at the front together. In the past, you used to have a little bit more lined out, but when you get 5 or 6 riders across the front, you know, how long can they keep on riding at 55, 60 kilometres an hour? They cannot do it for too long. So they'll come out, then others will come up, and it just gets very chaotic. So inside 5 kilometres to go, it's still the kind of main protagonist teams at the front, but there's a few teams sitting and waiting.
Drive time, dive time, potentially. Let's just make sure that, well, let's just hope nobody dive bombs up the inside and causes chaos. That big right-hander, Brian, it's loomed large all day. It's a little bit of a rise here. As you come over the top of this, you can get a bit of impetus. Nobody wants to take it just yet, I wouldn't have thought.
No, 750 metres to go when you turn right, so there is a bit of time, but it'll be fast. Although it's a kind of slight headwind, 20 kilometres an hour. It will go fast, that last 750 metres, so you do want to be in a good position. I don't think it's crucial to be in the top 6, but definitely, you know, in the top dozen.
Alex Edmondson hits the front for Team DSM Firmenich Post NL. Movistar coming to join the front as well. This is for Fernando Gaviria. Kimlai and Cavagna will be leading him in. Cavagna probably one of the early ones, maybe peeled off just a few moments ago. Meanwhile, now they're still very much intact, and he's still doing much of the driving here. Good work on the left-hand side of the road as you're looking at it at the moment. Bahrain victorious with Phil Bauhaus. Ackerman also calling for a little bit of pace from Israel Premier Tech. As it stands, Astana Kazakhstan haven't really fully formed at the front just yet. And there's a lot of verbals going on here from Bora Hansgrohe. Not quite sure whether they're out of position. We'll have to wait and see as we get closer in. 3 kilometres to go, Brian. It's getting hairy.
Yeah, it is, and you can see that. You know, you can see the stress in the peloton, a lot of shouting, and that's why you don't talk in the radio as a sports director, because it's so chaotic. Movistar in the dark blue. You know, you've got Astana, but they're looking behind to see, you know, he's on his own here, he's looking behind. But I'll tell you what, DSM have got themselves.
Whoa, that's at the back.
Order.
That's at the back, and a few of the DSM riders, I'm afraid, the Bora Hansgrohe riders, I'm afraid, I should say, have been caught out by this. Well, we saw the verbals going on, not quite sure who's been tagged, but I think Danny Van Poppel's involved. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see what it is. It's just a reaction about
it's quite high up.
Third of the way down. It's just pushing a lot of riders back. So is that concertina? So it's halfway through the peloton, but it did have a reaction. about a third of the way down, but what, 2 or 3 of the Bora Hansgrohe riders out?
And Danny Van Poppel, who's the ace lead-out man for Sam Welsford. And I can't see Sam Welsford anywhere near the front just for the time being. Just a bit of bad luck, I think, more than anything else. Touch of wheels, concertina, magnified, and I cannot see Bora Hansgrohe having the firepower to deliver, even if Welsford got through, for goodness sake. We saw the verbals. They were worried about it. Were trapped in. And there's no way back for them, I don't think. 1,800 metres to go. Absolute chaos. Just looking downstairs, and it's Gamper only, I think, for Bora Hansgrohe, who's just on the back line of this Alpes in de Koenig group. This is fantastic. Just spearing up on the inside. Jaco coming with Groenewegen. That is Callan O'Brien, who's just trying to wrestle himself into position. He's part of the front of that lead out. But Alpecin looking a happy place. Tudor Cycling have also managed to stay with it, for goodness sake. That's exactly what you want. Trying to fight back and get into position after being part, I think, of that nudge and the crash that happened. Visma lease bike, they're out of position just for now. A little bit of headage going on there from Mark Cavendish, as if to say, do you mind? And Van der Paar does not. No respect, perhaps, is the order of the day at a moment such as this. That turn is coming up. Mark Cavendish has got what he needs right now, just sitting in front of him. That's Gleb Zritzer. Michael Morkoff, they're just, it seems, out of order, but nonetheless, who's going to be the order of the day by the time we get to the end of it? It's exciting stuff, Brian, and here comes your big turn.
Yeah, I told you about leaving it late, and Alpes in de Koenig left it late, come up in numbers, and have got perfect lead out for the moment for Caden Groves. Mark Cavendish also there with Michael Morkov in front of him and Gleb Zritzer, but a little bit chaotic, starting to string out now. This is a good lead out here from Alpes in de Koenig.
Big spear up is going early. It's Gaviria that's going up on the barriers here. Is there anyone else? In fact, it's Gaviria's lead out man. He's looking behind, trying to check for Gaviria. Can't find him anywhere. Milano's still very much in the frame. Looming large is Groenewegen. Has he got what it takes today? Caden Groves is waiting for the release, and he goes. He spears up the inside of the road. Fantastic. Caden Groves looks like he's in a good position, but Olaf Koy's on the barriers. It's between the pair of them. Is it Merli is also involved? And he's got the power, but coming around them, Decline as well on the throw. Oh, my goodness. Sometimes, you know, sometimes the prophets of doom are for everybody else and not for you. What a delivery. What a win.
Yeah, another chaotic sprint, but I tell you what, Tim Merlier does a perfect job there. It'll be good to see the kind of aerial shot there. It was chaotic in the way, and I think Olaf Koy was coming to the left-hand side, but I tell you what, that's a more impressive, for me, that's a more impressive win for Tim Merlier there than the stage one.
Well, he was the man to beat, and so he proved. The power he displayed in Liwa, oh, ye of little faith. Well, Sam Welsford couldn't answer the question, I'm afraid, because his entire team, including he, I believe, were hobbled by that crash. What a piece of bad luck. Well, we thought that chaos would come after the turn, Brian, but not to be. It was before it.
Yeah, just before it, just a third of the way down the peloton. The thing is, you know where to go on the left-hand side, so, you know, when there was a kind of touch of wheels, that concertina effect took out pretty much 2 or 3 teams there, but yeah, very chaotic again. But Tim Merlier does it again, unbelievable. I thought there were other quicker riders here, but he's just shown that he is the man to beat.
And it may well be again tomorrow, for goodness sake. Well, they had their battle plans, Brian, but the thing about the plans is they're highly flammable.
They are. You know, that crash taking out quite a few riders. Jay Vine here in the leader's jersey. Everybody, because it was in the last 3 kilometres, will be given the same time, so no hassle, stay out of trouble. But another chaotic sprint here in the Uae Tour.
Gosh, Tim Merlier does it again. Well, I would love to pick the bones out of that conundrum for Bora Hansgrohe. You could see the verbals that were coming in, the nerves on the approach, Brian. They weren't happy by the way they were forming up, and in the end, I don't know, maybe they just snatched at it. They were part of a dab of the brakes, a touch of wheels, and it got magnified badly for them. Beautifully for this man, take nothing away from him. They kept it absolutely sensible, and he was able to get the release that he showed on the first stage, and he has done it.
Do you know what, we're just going about to see it again here, and again he comes from distance. I think on the left-hand side there, you can see Soudal Quickstep. He's just been led out. He was kind of pushed out of position. I thought it was perfect for Caden Groves, but just look at the speed they come up here. Olive Coy opens up. Big reaction here. Decline was on his wheel. They came over to the left-hand side of the barriers, but I just think that move there from Olive Coy, maybe it was a bit of a reaction, goes a little bit early, but Decline coming up to finish second yet again.
Very good.
Marechko again up there. Jakobsen, but whoever it was didn't quite get it. I think it was Van Leerberger bringing Tim Merlier up into the last corner. I think he was out of position again, like he was in the first stage. But tell you what, Van Leerberger brings him up at the right time. Coy, he went too early. He went with Milano and Gaviria did too early. Ultimately led Merlier to his second victory.
Another strong finish for Van der Paar, likewise for Lotto Destiny. What a day. Tim Merlier takes it ahead of Arvid Decline, Olive Coy, Anielkowski it was that got up there for Cofidis, Marechko, Jakobsen, Van der Paar in the frame ahead of Bauhaus, Gaviria and Odig.